Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Monday evening call. The call is about the transfer from Hyperverse, Hypernation, Hypercosmos through to Hypercommunity and then DAOVERSAL. Initially, it was Satoshi AI, but I think DAOVERSAL have basically done a really good job. The sky's not the limit. The universe is your playground. I think we'll find out how that plays out when we start looking at what options are available. So just to clarify, anybody who was looking at Satoshi AI, their option was something called a Focused Repayment Assistance, FRA. That has been changed for the whole hyper community and is now labeled as Targeted Financial Assistance, TFA. So when I talk about TFA, this is what I'm talking about. This is the transfer between the whole of the hyper system over to hyper community. And then from hyper community, you will then have to decide for yourself and actually do the withdrawal into DAOVERSAL. The reason any company would do that is because it would actually be wrong for them to do the whole transfer. Then you haven't had a choice. You have to make that choice yourself. Now, there's two important parts to this. First one is the charging period, and the second one is the withdrawal period. So I'm going to sort of talk you through how does the charging period work, what's the process, and then what's the withdrawal period. So let me just... So you're moving from Hyperverse, Hypernation, and at the moment when you log into your account, it says these are the assets that you now have, and you're moving them to Hyper Community. So look here, you've got step one, Hyperverse, Hypernation. You agree the terms, long as you're okay with them, that's entirely up to you. You transfer the funds to Hyper Community. Step two is await the withdraw option to DAOVERSAL. So once it goes to Hyper Community, there's nothing there at all. Sorry, your funds are now in Hyper Community and they're split into two. Now what you've got is you've got to wait for the next step, which will be transferred to DAOVERSAL. This is why your DAOVERSAL account shows a zero balance. Information about that is still to be notified. We're awaiting instructions. You have HPT and HU. So HPT is a conversion from financial, which was in your hyper account or the staking part, and only used as a discount for land purchase at 10%. That's the only thing you can spend it on at the moment. The HU is pending rewards, can be used for TFA packs only. So the TFA packs we're going to have a very quick look at initially is the 5,000 one. So if you've got 5,000 in pending rewards in HU, you convert them, transfer them over to DAOVERSAL. You purchase your pack A, which is 5,000. That is multiplied by 1.5, which becomes 7,500. You can only buy one of those. And there are two milestones on this, the 30% and 100%. This will become clearer in the next slides. But basically, you'll press the charge button until you get to 30%. And after that is when the withdrawals start. Important message, no new funds required at all. If I talk about planets and land in the next slides going forward, you don't have to do those. These are options that are available to people. So this is for every single person in the community. So here we go. Let's have a look. You've done that bit. You've sat there. You've now transferred over to DAOVERSAL. Now you've got option of credits. Now, these are the packages that will be available: a 5,000, 50,000 and 500,000. Everybody starts at the bottom, is what we've been told. So you put your 5,000 credits in, that's multiplied by 1.5, which becomes 7,500. You can only buy one of these packs. The multiplier is only if you have land or if you own a planet. So let's not overcomplicate it. Your milestones are 30% and 100%. So here's what happens. Once that fund is in your account and it's ready and waiting, your pending balance, I'm assuming, is going to be 7,500. Now, every day you'll have to log in and press the charge button so that whatever drops into your account then sits in your balance. Once that balance reaches 30% of the 5,000, which is 1,500, that's when the withdrawal option starts. On the other packages, it's different in that you step up to 70% and 100%. But let's not overcomplicate those because we're all going to start at the bottom. And if you were in Satoshi AI, the percentage is 0.2 as opposed to 0.15. So every targeted assistance pack provides a 1.5 return on the pack value. The charging period refers to the duration during which the released amount has not reached 100% of the pack value. The reason you're logging in each day and pressing the charge button is that shows you are an active member and you're basically agreeing to drop those funds into your balance. What that shows for, this is how it works. The first part we're going to do is for DAOversal. We're going to show that we have an active community that log in every day and do something like press the button on what looks like a battery charging unit. The reason for that is DAOversal can then go to talking to companies on a regular basis who say, well, okay, you're telling us you've got a metaverse, but how many people have you got active? And they can say, well, we've got 50,000, 100,000, 200,000, whatever the number is. The bigger the number is and the more active users there are, the more attraction they have to companies and even venture capitalists. So the first part we're doing for them. The second part is during this charging period, the release rate is capped at 0.15. After this period, the daily release rate increases to 0.6%. Your daily rewards, like your land staking, planet referrals, all of this can shorten the charging period. I'll show you that in a minute. Users are required to click on the charge button to claim all the rewards to charge the target assistance pack. Users can withdraw funds once the care package reaches 30% of the value. So here's your first step. Subscribe to Pack A. 5,000, 0.15% is the release rate. 7,500. So this is 100%. This is your main goal is to get to 100%, because once you got there, the release rate changes to 0.6%. So it's like you do some tasks, you can do some withdrawals initially. Once you get to the top number, that's when it starts to change. So let's just make that a bit more, clarify that a bit, because it looks a bit complicated. So you've got nothing to start with. You've put your 5,000 in, it becomes 7.5. That's nice and simple. 30% of the 5,000 is 1,500. So you basically will receive 7.5 DU every day, which is 0.15% of the 5,000 figure. Well, sorry, 1,500. Once you've got to the 30%, sorry, when you've hit 1500, that's when you can start to withdraw on a daily basis. But that you can change that to the next goal is to get to 100%, and then the rate changes completely. So your first goal is to get to the 1500. Your second goal is to get to the 5000. So let's just have a look at what happens when you do this withdrawal. These figures haven't changed at all. Start with 0. Your first goal is 30%. 5000 is what you start with. After you've hit the first milestone of 30%, which is achieved by 7.5 per day until you hit 1500. Now, what happens is, although it's not shown on here, is your 0.15% of the 1500 is 2.25. That's what you can take out on day one. But I'm going to talk you through something slightly different, which is on the following day, you've now dropped below the 1500, but you've also received 7.5. Now you've gone past the 1500. So what will happen is this figure will probably be 1505, for example. And 0.15% of that will be different to 2.25. So on each day, that balance will change. So it's not literally this figure every day. It's slightly more every day if you click on the charge button. The second milestone is when you hit 100% and you've had your 5000. Then the whole thing changes and it becomes 0.6%. And then you're on 30 DU per day. And then you've had your 7,500. That's when you will move up to the next pack, which is pack B, 50,000, pack C, 500,000. And they have said they're going to introduce other packs at different levels because everybody's got a different balance. Some people might have less than the 5,000. Some people might have 15,400 or something. And this is where they will move it around so that you can utilize the funds that you have in your account. So this is not talking about 1x. If they were talking about the 1x, they wouldn't even do 1.5 times. This is whatever's in your pending balance. So once you've accumulated 1,500, the first milestone is 30%. You start the withdrawal process and you continue to recharge. Your withdrawals for daily is 0.15% to 1,500, 2.25. You keep recharging your TFA package plus all rewards on a ×2 multiplier. What this means, all rewards on a ×2, is basically based on planets and land. Step 3 is when you get to 5,000, your finish line is 100%, which is the 5,000 you started with. You withdraw for daily at 0.6%, which is 30 DU, and you continue to withdraw until your payout is 7,500. This is available to every single member who decides to go with DAOVERSAL. So they're in effect paying us to show that we are active. And guess what? You have to be active to be able to recharge your account. So you log in every day, and anybody who says, oh, I don't want to log in every day, well, guess what? You log into Facebook every day, you log into your email every day, and you probably reply to WhatsApp messages every day. So if you can do that, and this is a way of extracting, believe me, it's a good option. This is just an example of somebody who doesn't want to buy planets, doesn't want to buy land, doesn't want to do any of that. They just want to extract funds out of this, which is the slowest. There's no land to buy, no planets. So you bought package A, 5,000, times that by 1.5 is 7,500. The release rate is 7.5 per day. When you hit 1,500, which takes 200 days, then you can start to withdraw. After 200 days, you can withdraw 0.15 at 225 a day and on an upward scale. Then you carry on the balance until you hit the other 3.5, which gets you to the 5,000. And with that, you hit 30 DU per day and 0.6 to 5,000. So yes, this is not a quick fix. This will take longer. But considering that we've been, 2 years probably or more waiting for somebody to come up with a solution, I think a slow solution is better than no solution at all. So now what we're going to have a look at is what happens, and I'm not going to overcomplicate it. So we're not going to talk about the TFA packages too much. I'm just going to show you what does DAOVERSAL do, because it's no good saying, yeah, this company's paying me out. But if you don't know what they do, you don't know where the funds come from. And unfortunately, this page was the disclaimer, but didn't come up. So, but basically what we're looking at, this is not a process of telling you or giving you any kind of investment advice. Everybody decides for themselves what course they want to take. And if you're not sure, get advice. The TFA process is really what everybody's looking at. We're just looking at how does the DAOVERSAL planetary system work. So it's an planetary ecosystem with different planets. And once you buy a planet, you become a node. So you are the owner of a planet. The next part is owning land, which is also called staking. So you can actually buy land on somebody's planet. You also get referral rewards for, if you introduce somebody who wants to do the same. Because don't forget, when you're talking about planets, buying planets and being able to give the planet a name, buy spaceships and all these kinds of things, suddenly this is a lot more interesting to people in sci-fi, people on the gaming industry. A lot more people like that will suddenly be like, oh, I want to buy my own planet. And that's up to them. There's a unique release rates. The rewards are in DU, which is equivalent to 1 USDT. And there's all sorts of other extra features, which I'm not even going to go into. So initially, they sold 400 planets, which sold out within 72 hours. On each planet, there are 1,000 pieces of land. And in a minute, I'll show you the cost of the land. That's, again, a choice you make. There are 3 different tokens in the ecosystem. DU is the first one you're interested in, which is pegged to the USDT at a 1-to-1 ratio. 10% of marketing reward can be swapped to DT, which we'll talk about in a minute. So RC is the resource coin, and you can exchange DU at a 1-to-1 ratio. This is for future development, because don't forget, if you're a planet owner, it's no good just saying, well, I'm a planet owner. Great, let me go and sell the land. You have to build on it. You have to develop it, because who else is going to develop it for you? You don't hand it to somebody else and they do all the work. There are more benefits for RC holders. So this is where people who see potential in this might decide to buy a planet or get a piece of land. DT is swapped to DU according to the rate, and DT is the one that you'll use for voting. So just think, if you're a landowner, you can now vote on all sorts of things on the planet. And this is what a DAO is. It's basically run based on consensus. All the people vote and decide the direction that you're going in. So here's the different planets. Initially was a stone planet, bronze planet, and iron planet. There's different ranks. These are just the numbers of how many planets were available. They're sold out, so I think might be a few bronze and a few iron planets left. These are the prices of the planets: $500, $2,000, and $3,200. there's a land tax formula. So as a planet owner, there's a formula that's used to reward the planet owner, because guess what? It's not just a case of the planet owner makes something and then withdraws it. They've got to put the infrastructure into the planet. Those rewards are all paid in DU, and you have the authority to name your planet. So as a subscriber to a planet is equivalent to becoming a node of that planet. For every piece of land sold from the stone planet, the node receives 10% land tax of the daily reward generated by the land. Believe me, it sounds more than it actually is, and I'll show you in a minute. So the stone planet, the land tax formula is the cumulated stake amount times 0.6% times 10%. So let's take an example. If on the stone planet, there are 500 landowners who have staked 100. And the reason I say staked is when you actually pay for that land, you get those funds back because you're staking them and you're receiving 0.6% on that 100. This is where it gets interesting. If you're getting 0.6 on that 100, that adds to what you're getting in your TFA, which means that 200 days shrinks and becomes a lot faster. But that's entirely a choice that only people can make themselves. This is not a sales pitch to try and get people to buy land. If you don't want to buy land, don't buy land at all. So the planet owner would get, based on these 500 landowners, 100 times 0.6% times 10%. So they would get 6 cents per piece of land. So the total amount they would get is 30 DU per day. That's if they've got 500 landowners. And this is where you can judge how well a planet is run and decide on its manifesto. Because don't forget, when you look at a planet, it'll tell you what the planet does. Is it for fun? Is it for selling sweets? Is it for theme park rides or whatever? You can decide which planet to buy your land in. So it doesn't matter if you got a team of 50,000, it's irrelevant. They might all go and buy land on somebody else's planet. And that's the bit I like, because people will follow what they feel is right. On the bronze planet, the land is more expensive. And if 500 people bought land who stake 250, then this isn't a daily amount. This is a one-off amount. So it varies depending on the different types of planets. So what I would say is, before you even, if you're not sure, just don't do anything. Just log in, create your own avatar, go and have a look around, see what's on the different planets, get a feel for it, and then decide if you do decide to buy land. So in the description, users can fill in the referrals invitation code. So if you've got somebody who's a sci-fi enthusiast and they think, wow, this is a great idea, there's that. Well, how do I join? Send them your referral code, proceed to the payment, subscribe to the planet, and you'll receive a planet referral reward. So we can go a bit more in depth into that probably later on. Actually, I might just take this slide out completely because it just uncomplicates it. Because what you want to know is, how does this all work? If you're somebody who just might be interested in buying land, so let's just look at the stone one. There are 1,000 pieces of land. Now the planet owner is going to decide how much to sell the land for, or how much is staked, between 10 and 100. So if you start at 10, apparently you can increase that stake right up to 100. So you could start at 10 and keep staking until you get to 100 if you wanted to. You can redeem your account. In other words, if you put funds in on the Stone Planet and you change your mind, you can take them out, and there's a 3% fee. Total rewards are unlimited. The rewards are a DU, and the release rate is 0.6%. And there are no marketing rewards available for that. So the Stone Planet is probably a good starting point. We won't overcomplicate it by going into all the others and what the limitations are, etc. But the ownership of stone land is limited to 1 per account indefinitely. So it's not a case of you can go out and buy as many pieces of stone land as you want. It doesn't work that way. Everybody is on the same wavelength. Everybody has the same options. Each account can only possess 1 active land from each planetary rank. So even though there might be 600 planets out there, you decide where you want to buy your land. Whose planet do you want to buy on, if you decide to buy it? Again, let me just stress that you don't have to buy land. This is just an option. This is where it gets kind of interesting. This is more in the bronze planet and upwards, is there are different release rates. And this is what they mean by a unique release rate. If you bought on the bronze planet, for example, at 250, on the first 10 days, you would get 1.5%. So you're thinking, wow, that's pretty good. The following day 11 to 30, you get 1.2. Day 31 to 60 is 0.8, and 61 onwards is 0.4. What they're doing is they're giving you your staking period back a larger sum at the beginning, so that you can then say, well, actually, I want to use these funds for something else, do something else, etc. And that's where it gets interesting. So all rewards, including daily and market, will be in RC, except for Stone Planet rewards. Users are required to claim the reward manually within 120 hours from the pending reward account. You can't just leave your account there and hope that it just piles up so you can collect it in 6 months' time. Otherwise, rewards generated after 120 hours will not accumulate until the previous rewards are claimed. So if you go past 5 days and you don't claim, on the 6th and 7th day, you won't get anything. And this is just to show that, you're logging into your account and you're doing what is, it's a bit like if you were panning for gold, you'd definitely go and grab that gold. You wouldn't leave it there, would you? And the claimed reward will be credited to your account. So there you go. On a stone piece of land, 100, let's say you purchased 100 piece of land, that's fixed at 0.6%. So you would receive 0.6 to you daily, on a daily basis. On the bronze land, it's kind of different because it's front-ended, so you get more, 1.5% on the first 10 days, 1.2 up to day 30, 0.8 to day 60, and 0.4 up to day 70. And that means that you've paid 300 for this piece of land. Within 70 days, you've already had 200 back. Now, to me, that's a great option, because in that space, I can go back again, and depending on what the process is of owning land, we can then look at whether you can own more pieces of land or buy more plots next to the ones you already have. So this is where we are at the moment, July 2023. The platform was signed in through Hyperverse and Satoshi AI. Planet subscription was open. We've done that bit already. Land subscription, which is, and the marketing reward is what's coming next. That's coming at the end of this month. And then we move into the other things, which there's no point talking about because we'll wait until we get closer to that date to even look at that. These are the different groups that you can join. Follow DAOVERSAL on Telegram, Twitter, Medium, YouTube, Discord, etc. So thank you for joining this call. One of the things that I will mention is some of us, planet owners, have created a group of our own. Actually, the United Planetary Alliance. I was going to call it the United Federation of Planets, but it sounds a bit too like Star Trek, or it actually is. So the alliance that will have truly gold and asset-backed crypto that can be mined and earned without buying anything. This is completely separate to your TFA. It's separate to your buying land, separate to buying planets. This is purely just something a group of us have got together and decided to do. Now, we don't know what the process is, so this is kind of a bit of a sneak peek. So I've just put a little disclaimer. Subscription or land purchase may be required to take part. Full instructions to follow once the details are announced. So thank you very much, everyone. Let me just stop the recording.